The global economy has experienced its fair share of ups and downs over the years, but nothing quite compares to the seismic shifts brought about by a global economic crisis. From the Great Depression of the 1930s to the more recent financial crisis of 2008, these events have had far-reaching consequences for individuals, businesses, and governments around the world. For today's video, let's talk about why Nouriel Roubini, an economist, have said that we are doomed. But first, who is Nouriel Roubini? Nouriel Roubini is an American economist and professor of economics at New York University's Stern School of Business. Roubini gained widespread attention for accurately predicting the 2008 financial crisis, which earned him the nickname Dr. Doom.
Well, the nickname came because August of 2008, there was a long profile of me in the New York Times Magazine titled Dr. Doom. And the whole article was about me and how I started predicting the global financial crisis.
In the years leading up to the crisis, Roubini was one of the few economists who warned of the impending collapse of the housing market and the broader financial system. He published numerous papers and articles that highlighted the risks of the housing bubble and the dangerous practices of the financial industry. In 2006, Roubini gave a speech at the International Monetary Fund that outlined the risks facing the global economy, including the housing bubble, rising debt levels, and the potential for a financial meltdown. His warnings were largely ignored by policymakers and the media, but they proved to be prescient when the financial crisis hit in 2008. He is a frequent commentator on financial news programs and has written several books on the economy and financial markets. Despite his reputation as a doom and gloom economist, Roubini remains committed to providing rigorous analysis and practical solutions to the challenges facing the global economy. Now, Dr. Doom has published a book entitled Megathreats: 10 Dangerous Trends That Imperil Our Future and How to Survive Them. In here, he discussed vividly what these threats are and how it will make us doomed.
Some people call it megathreats, some people call it polycrisis, some people call it the confluence of calamities, or the WEF says we'll have the most turbulent and uncertain and dangerous decade in a long time. They're just different terms for the same types of concerns.
From pandemics to climate change, cybersecurity risks to financial instability, Roubini argues that we are facing a perfect storm of interconnected and mutually reinforcing global risks that threaten our societies and economies. At its core, Megathreats is a wake-up call to the world, warning us that we are headed for disaster if we do not take action to address these risks. The book begins with an introduction where Roubini outlines the concept of megathreats and explains why we are facing an unprecedented level of risk today. He argues that these megathreats are not only more frequent and severe than in the past, but they are also more interconnected and mutually reinforcing, meaning that they can amplify each other's effects and lead to cascading failures in multiple systems. The first megathreat discussed in the book is the risk of a global pandemic, and Roubini could not have been more prescient, given that the book was published just as the COVID-19 pandemic was spreading rapidly around the world. Roubini argues that pandemics are likely to become more frequent and severe due to factors such as climate change, urbanization, and globalization. He also warns that the lack of preparedness and coordination among governments and international organizations could lead to a catastrophic outcome. And true to what was stated in the book, COVID-19 pandemic not just affected the lives of people, but so does the economy, agriculture, and many other more aspects. The second one is climate change. Climate change is one of the most pressing megathreats identified by Nouriel Roubini in his book. One way in which climate change can contribute to global crisis is through food and water insecurity. Climate change can disrupt agricultural systems and reduce crop yields, leading to food shortages and price increases. Changes in precipitation patterns can affect water availability, leading to water scarcity and competition for resources. This can exacerbate existing inequalities and potentially lead to conflict over resources. Climate change can exacerbate existing health problems, and create new ones. For example, extreme heat can lead to heat exhaustion and heat stroke, particularly among vulnerable populations such as the elderly and those with pre-existing medical conditions. Air pollution, which is often worsened by hotter temperatures, can exacerbate respiratory problems such as asthma. In addition, changes in precipitation patterns can lead to an increase in waterborne diseases such as cholera. Third, cybersecurity. From data breaches to cyber attacks, these risks can have significant consequences not just for individual organizations, but for the global community as a whole. With the rise of digital technologies, vast amounts of personal data are being collected and stored by organizations around the world. If this data falls into the wrong hands, it can be used for malicious purposes such as identity theft, fraud, and cyber espionage. This can have significant impacts on individuals and businesses alike, leading to financial losses and reputational damage. Failure to do so could have significant and potentially catastrophic consequences for the global community. Number 4, financial instability. Financial instability can be like a ticking time bomb that threatens to destabilize not just individual economies, but the entire global financial system. With the potential to trigger recessions, disrupt trade, and increase social and political unrest, financial instability is a mega threat that should not be taken lightly. A breakdown in the global financial system can lead to a reduction in trade, as businesses struggle to secure financing and consumers become more cautious with their spending. This can have ripple effects throughout the global economy, impacting supply chains and potentially leading to a contraction in global GDP. It can also be that, during times of economic hardship, those who are most vulnerable, such as low-income households and small businesses, are often the hardest hit. Number 5, terrorism. Terrorism is a mega threat that strikes at the very heart of global security and stability. With the potential to cause widespread harm and destruction, terrorism poses a significant risk to individuals, communities, and entire nations. This can have long-term psychological and emotional impacts on individuals and communities, potentially leading to increased social unrest and political instability. Terrorism can also contribute to global crisis through its potential to disrupt international trade and travel. Attacks on transportation systems, such as airports and seaports, can lead to significant disruption to supply chains and trade routes. This can have economic consequences not just for individual nations, but for the entire global economy. Those are just 5 of the 10 mega threats. Other threats include nuclear proliferation, inequality and social unrest, geopolitical conflicts, and technological disruptions, such as artificial intelligence and automation. They are interconnected and mutually reinforcing, meaning that they can amplify each other's effects and lead to cascading failures in multiple systems. For example, a pandemic could trigger a financial crisis, which could lead to social unrest, and geopolitical conflicts, which could exacerbate climate change, and so on. This interconnectedness means that we cannot simply solve one problem and move on to the next. We must address all of the mega threats simultaneously and in an integrated way. This is a daunting task that requires a coordinated and sustained effort from governments, businesses, and individuals around the world. However, given the current state of global cooperation and the lack of political will to tackle these challenges, it seems unlikely that we will be able to address these mega threats in a meaningful way. What do you think about this topic? Do you really think that we are doomed? Or are there any other ways to surpass the global crisis? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.